What if one tiny pill was quietly shrinking your brain, not after years, but after just 3 months of use? Every day, millions of seniors take medications they trust for allergies, anxiety, sleep, blood pressure. But a wave of new research is exposing a dark truth. Some of these drugs may be silently triggering memory loss, confusion, and even dementia, long before anyone notices. A recent review found that several popular medications, many prescribed to seniors, increase dementia risk by up to 80%. The worst part is that most of these prescriptions are considered safe by many doctors and are still handed out daily. This video exposes 9 medications linked to cognitive decline, including the one associated with the most aggressive brain shrinkage ever recorded in seniors. If you or someone you love takes any of these, you need to know what's really at stake and what to ask your doctor before it's too late. Let's begin with number 1, opioids. Common medications in this category include oxycodone, OxyContin, hydrocodone, Vicodin, morphine, MS-Contin, fentanyl, Duragesic, and codeine. 3 years before her diagnosis, 72-year-old Sheila was prescribed oxycodone after a knee replacement. At first, it was just for pain, but she kept refilling the prescription. Over time, she grew foggy and disoriented. She once asked why her bed was floating and forgot how to unlock her front door. Her husband noticed she was quieter, slower, and kept zoning out mid-sentence. 3 years later, her neurologist confirmed early-onset dementia. Studies show that chronic opioid use accelerates cognitive decline by up to 40%. These drugs don't just numb pain, they suppress brain function. Opioids affect the brain's reward and memory centers, and over time, disrupt the white matter that connects different brain regions. That leads to slowed thinking, emotional flatness, and memory gaps. The longer someone stays on opioids, the more the brain adapts by shutting down vital pathways. The result is a slow, quiet erosion of cognition, and it often goes unnoticed until it's too late. Number 2, benzodiazepines. Common medications in this category include diazepam, Valium, lorazepam, Ativan, alprazolam, Xanax, clonazepam, Klonopin, temazepam, Restoril. At 69, Walter had trouble sleeping after his wife passed, so his doctor prescribed a low dose of lorazepam. It helped, at first, but within a few months, he started doing things that didn't make sense, like digging through the trash and putting empty yogurt containers in the freezer for later. His daughter thought it was grief, but then he left his car running in the driveway overnight, twice in a week. 3 years after starting the medication, Walter was diagnosed with moderate-stage dementia. Research confirms that benzodiazepines are associated with a 32% to 80% increased risk of cognitive decline, depending on duration and dosage. These medications work by suppressing brain activity, but over time, that suppression affects not just anxiety or sleep, but memory formation and mental clarity. Long-term use has been linked to neuron shrinkage, disorientation, and even paranoia. The scariest part is that these medications are still commonly prescribed to seniors, often for years, with no warning about the long-term damage they may cause to the brain. Number 3, muscle relaxants. Common medications in this category include cyclobenzaprine, Flexeril, carisoprodol, Soma, methocarbamol, Robaxin, baclofen, Lioresal, and tizanidine, Xanaflex. 4 years before her diagnosis, 73-year-old Yvonne was prescribed cyclobenzaprine for chronic neck pain. Soon after, her family noticed strange behavior. She poured milk into a shoe, confused the pantry for the bathroom, and once asked if her grandson's toy dinosaur was the president now. At first, they joked about her brain fog, but the confusion deepened. Yvonne was eventually diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia. A major study published in 2020 linked long-term muscle relaxant use to a 36% higher risk of dementia. These drugs slow activity in the central nervous system, which relaxes muscles but also reduces mental alertness. In seniors, that sedation effect is more intense and dangerous. Over time, the brain gets used to operating in a slower state. That dullness gradually chips away at memory, awareness, and decision-making. Most people think these medications are harmless for occasional pain, but when taken consistently, they can silence the very circuits the brain needs to stay sharp. Number 4. First-generation antihistamines. Common medications in this category include diphenhydramine, Benadryl, Unisum sleep gels, chlorpheniramine, chlortrimitin, hydroxyzine, Vistaril Atarax, promethazine, Phenergan, cyperheptadine, Pyriactine. 5 years before his dementia diagnosis, 71-year-old Franklin began taking an over-the-counter allergy pill every night to help his sleep. He thought nothing of it, just a common tablet from the pharmacy shelf. But within a year, his son noticed he was asking the same questions again and again. Franklin once left his purse in the freezer, then insisted someone else had moved it. 2 years later, he got lost driving to his church of 30 years. By the time his memory lapses became undeniable, he was already showing early signs of Alzheimer's. Studies have found that long-term use of first-generation antihistamines can increase dementia risk by up to 54%. These drugs block acetylcholine, a critical brain chemical that helps with memory, focus, and learning. For older brains that are already low on acetylcholine, this suppression speeds up cognitive decline dramatically. These medications are still sold freely, often marketed as safe sleep aids or allergy relief. If a senior is using these daily, especially before bed, it may not be just forgetfulness they're experiencing. It could be the first signs of chemically triggered brain decline. Number 5. Sleep medications. Common medications in this category include zolpidem, Ambien, ezopiclone, Lunesta, temazepam, Restoril, Zaloplan, Sonata, and Doxepin, Silanor. At 69, Judith just wanted a good night's sleep. Her doctor prescribed zolpidem to help with her insomnia. Within weeks, her family noticed something strange. She was waking up confused, wandering the house at 3 a.m., pacing back and forth in the attic. A year later, she began mixing up family members' names and using a fork as a hairbrush. At 71, Judith was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, and her decline hasn't slowed. A 2019 study in the BMJ found that seniors who use sleep medications multiple times per week had a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. These drugs interfere with slow-wave sleep, which is crucial for memory consolidation and brain detoxification. Over time, they also disrupt brainwave patterns, dulling cognition and accelerating neurodegeneration, even after stopping the medication. Sleep aids don't just sedate the body, they quiet the brain's ability to repair itself, setting the stage for permanent cognitive decline. You may be wondering, can stopping these medications help reverse the damage? For some medications, especially those that cause temporary cognitive impairment, like benzodiazepines or sleep medications, stopping them could lead to improvement in mental clarity and memory. The brain has a remarkable ability to heal, especially when damage is caught early. However, for other medications, particularly those that contribute to long-term neurodegeneration, reversing the damage may not be fully possible. If dementia symptoms have already set in, halting the medication might slow further decline, but it's unlikely to reverse the cognitive loss completely. That's why recognizing the risks of these medications early is crucial. Number 6. Statins. Common medications in this category include atorvastatin, Lipitor, simvastatin, Zocor, rosuvastatin, Crestor, pravastatin, Pravachol, and lovastatin, Mevacor. 3 years before his diagnosis, 72-year-old Hank was prescribed high-dose statins after a routine cholesterol check. At first, he seemed fine, but soon he began pouring orange juice on his bed and claimed his wife's name just didn't sound right anymore. The scariest moment came when he woke her up at 2 a.m. asking why the stairs were melting. Eventually, Hank was diagnosed with early-stage dementia. Studies show that statins in high doses may increase the risk of memory loss and confusion in seniors. A major 2020 study reported a 58% higher likelihood of memory impairment in long-term users. Statins reduce coenzyme Q10, a nutrient essential for brain cell energy. Without it, neurons lose their vitality. Some researchers also argue that cholesterol plays a vital role in maintaining brain structure and function. When levels drop too low, the brain may lose its ability to form connections, leading to cognitive decline. Number 7. Proton pump inhibitors. Common medications in this category include omeprazole, Prilosec, esomeprazole, Nexium, pantoprazole, Protonix, lansoprazole, Prevacid, rabeprazole, Acifex. 74-year-old Mabel began complaining about a metallic taste in her mouth even when eating plain toast. She'd taken omeprazole for years to manage acid reflux, but suddenly, she started accusing her husband of burning food he hadn't even cooked. Then she began refusing meals entirely, claiming everything smelled like pennies and tasted like rust. When she later confused the kitchen sink for the toilet, her daughter pushed for a cognitive exam. That's when early dementia was confirmed. It was just 3 years after she began taking that medication. Studies indicate that long-term use of proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, is linked to a 44% higher risk of dementia. These drugs interfere with the body's ability to absorb vitamin B12, which is essential for healthy brain function. They also disrupt gut bacteria, which affects memory and inflammation through the gut-brain connection. PPIs are often used far beyond the originally intended short-term window. The most concerning part is that these medications are still casually recommended for daily use, even to seniors already showing early memory trouble. Number 8. Antipsychotics. Common medications in this category include risperidone, Risperdal, olanzapine, Zyprexa, quetiapine, Seroquel, haloperidol, Haldol, and clozapine, Clozaril. 2 years before his diagnosis, 71-year-old Leonard was prescribed quetiapine to help with agitation and sleep. But soon after, something shifted. He began pouring maple syrup into his miso soup, tried to open the microwave with a house key, and once asked why the person in the mirror was talking back. His confusion deepened rapidly, and not long after, Leonard was diagnosed with early-stage dementia. Studies confirm that antipsychotics can accelerate cognitive decline, especially in older adults. A 2023 review found that prolonged use of drugs like quetiapine and risperidone leads to brain volume loss in regions tied to memory and judgment. These drugs block dopamine, a neurotransmitter vital for learning and focus. In older brains, that disruption can fast-track disorientation, memory failure, and emotional instability. The scariest part is that these drugs are often prescribed to calm down seniors, when in fact, they may be speeding up the very decline they're meant to manage. Number 9. Tricyclic antidepressants. Common medications in this category include amitriptyline, Elavil, nortriptyline, Pamelor, imipramine, tofranil, and doxepin, Silanor. 4 years before her diagnosis, 75-year-old Delia began taking amitriptyline for chronic nerve pain. She was witty and fiercely independent until strange things started happening. One day, she washed her laundry with milk instead of detergent. Another time, she asked her neighbor why the ceiling fan was whispering secrets. Her family thought it was just the medication's side effects. But by the time they realized what was really happening, Delia was slipping deep into cognitive decline and was diagnosed with dementia at 79. Studies show that tricyclic antidepressants interfere with acetylcholine, the brain chemical responsible for memory, learning, and attention. Findings confirm a significantly higher rate of dementia among long-term users, especially when combined with other medications that affect memory. These drugs are still widely prescribed, not only for depression, but also for insomnia, anxiety, and chronic pain, especially in seniors. But their cognitive risks are often overlooked until it's too late to reverse the damage. Some medications save lives, but others quietly steal your mind before memory loss is even noticed. Most seniors have no idea, and that's why it's essential to ask your doctor, is this still safe for my brain? Because once dementia takes hold, there may be no going back.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.